Hi there, this is Derek from Pacific Coast Auto, and welcome to another Sunday questions and answers cast. Let me just get that light. Now, pardon me because this one is at night time. I didn't have any time to shoot this video throughout the week. Usually I'll do this video on Thursday or Friday during work, but this week I've been too busy. And so now here I am, Sunday night. The time is 11:05, and I came out for a drive specifically to do this video. Just going to drive around my neighborhood and do the questions and answers. So thank you everyone, first of all, for writing your questions into the comment section on the last video. I've taken these questions directly from that. Hopefully you can see me in the video. It's quite dark out. Okay, alright, so let's jump right into the questions and answers, and we'll go from there.
Andrew Coho says, what was your first car?
Okay, that was my daughter there. She helped me out with the first question. She's 8 years old and was too shy to do the rest of the questions. So what was my first car? That was a 1972 Austin Mini. I got it when I was 18 years old. And I saved up 75% of my paycheck at a minimum wage job over 8 months in order to afford it. The cost of the car was about $4,000, $3,750 to be exact. I bought the car in Vancouver, Canada, and drove it home basically overnight. We didn't leave until about midnight that night. Got home at around 4 o'clock in the morning. So quite an adventure. Me and that car had lots of good times. So a very good first car for me. Retrospectively, I probably wouldn't want the same car for my daughter's first car because they're very unsafe. And you know, that's the dad in me coming through now. But yeah, on to the next question.
Astro Papa says, Derek, love your vlog here. My question is, what was your favorite and least favorite car to export and why?
Least favorite car to export is easy. That was a 1998 Lancer Evolution that ended up having some hidden, purposefully hidden rust on the underside, and we ended up buying that back from the customer and fixing it and reselling it. We ended up losing about $3,000 or so from that one. So not too happy about that car. There have been some other hiccups similar to that one, but that one's probably my least favorite. Favorite car is probably too difficult for me to say. There have been so many great cars that we've exported, so it's hard to pick just one. And so I'm not too sure. Some of the top ones, we've sold quite a few Lancia Deltas, and they are one of my favorite cars. And so every time I get one, I'm excited to see it. And if I get lucky enough to drive it, that's even better because driving those cars is amazing. R34 GTRs are interesting to see, R33 GTRs. I really like 86s, but to be honest, because they're the 86 or Hachiroku or Toyota Corolla GTS, whatever you want to call that, the car, because they're older, they're usually in pretty bad condition, and so it takes longer to check them out. The usual video and picture set takes me about 45 minutes, and 86 can take me an hour or longer to get the full report on it. Okay.
Brandon Anderson says, what are some of the most reliable cars to import, say for someone that doesn't have a lot of money but could afford to do general maintenance?
A lot of the regular cars, non-sports car-like cars, are pretty reliable. If you go with Honda or Toyota or Nissan, you should be pretty good. Turbocharged cars, you add the turbo or you add a 5-speed or 6-speed manual transmission to any car and it's not going to be as reliable. The manual transmission ones, the reason why is because the people who drive manual transmission cars are people who like driving. And people who like driving, sometimes they drive their cars hard. The harder a car is driven, the less long it's going to last.
E36 Beamer 27 asks, basically two questions. The first one is, what forms are needed to import the car into the question is, how do diagnostics and tuning work for Japanese domestic cars of the 80s and 90s era?
Okay, what do you need to import it to the USA? There are a number of forms that you need, and a lot of people who want to import into the US, they want to get all of their ducks in a row before they start the process. And I just wanted to say that that's not necessary to do that. When you buy a car through us, then we set you up with the customs broker that handles everything that you need. And it's not terribly expensive. The customs broker is about $500, and they'll file everything that you need, your EPA filing, your DOT filing, the ISF, and everything is done proper. So it's not something that the buying customer really needs to get into the details of. I do have the information that's available for the names of all of them, but I don't think that that's relevant. For the general purchase, what you do is you buy the car, we set you up with the customs broker, you pay them, and you pick up your car. You take the stack of paperwork that you get from them and the stack of paperwork you got from me, and then you walk into the registration office and you say, register my car. And it should be as easy as that. There are some things, for example, each state has different rules and whatnot, but for the most part, that's pretty all-inclusive. Diagnostics for 80s and 90s cars. I don't quite understand what the question is for that one. The diagnostics, like if your car's broken and you've got a check engine light on, 80s cars you would plug two things in and it would flash the check engine light a number of times and tell you, then you would have to go to a manual and find out what that means. You can get on eBay like a plug and play thing that'll fit into the OBD2 port, but also has a harness that you can convert that to different formats if the car doesn't have OBD2, like most Japanese cars or German cars. And so buy the parts, plug them in, and you can find out what your codes are. So it's not really that difficult, and it's nice to have tools like that if you like to do work on your own cars.
Hey Derek, what cars have you owned in Japan, and what was the most interesting one, and what are you planning to buy next?
Okay, the cars I've owned in Japan, 1994, I don't know, 1994 Skyline 4-door R33. With the RB25 engine, and it had roughly 280 or 300 horsepower. Really great car. It was tuned by Nismo, so it had a body kit on it. Nice looking car. I really liked it. Next car after that was an Impreza that my friend Ben, thank you Ben, let me drive for a few months until it was legal to import. It was a WRX. It had rally stickers on it, like martini decals all over the car. My wife was super embarrassed to drive around in that. The car after that was an E39 BMW wagon, which, to be honest, I was a little bit disappointed in because the engine was a 2.8 liter inline six, and the engine response was not very good. The weight of the car was quite heavy, and so it wasn't fun to drive. It was on a set of 18-inch wheels, and that made it pretty slow to drive. And so I really didn't want to get the E39 wagon. I wanted to get an E46 wagon, but I ended up not being able to find one after about 6 months, and then jumped on an E39 when one came up. It was gorgeous looking, very nice condition car with full cream leather interior, but unfortunately just not my kind of thing. Next car after that was a 1998 CLK 320. Nice and sporty, 2-door coupe. Not good for a family of 4, and so got rid of that. It ended up having a lot of problems, electronic problems mostly, so not good. And then the car after that is the car I'm driving right now, a 98 Subaru Legacy automatic transmission. Sadly, automatic transmission. I would really like to have this car in a manual. It would be a very nice car. With an automatic, I don't really think that you get all of the fun out of it. And so, yeah. My next car, oh, I'm excited about that. So we've got a third child on the way right now, coming out in 2.5 months or so. And so we need something with more seats. And so I get to be a minivan dad. And I'm a little bit excited about that because minivans are cool. People not looking where they're going. Okay. So the minivan that I'm deciding to get is Mercedes-Benz Viano. It's got the same engine as the CLK, but it's going to be really slow in a vehicle that big. Not particularly excited about the mechanics of that because I'm pretty sure it's not going to be super reliable, but I really like the space of the Viano and I like the looks of it. And it's the back seat has a table. And the seats swivel around, and so you can point all the seats in the back toward each other, and it's got 4 seats in the back and then the 2 driver seats, so a 6-seater. So it's got enough room for all of my car seats. I'm going to have 3 of them by then, and you know that won't fit in this car. And then when I need to work, which is quite often, like work in the car, when I'm working in the Legacy here, it's really uncomfortable. I can't put the laptop in front of the steering wheel because there just isn't enough room here, even with the seat all the way back. And so I have to kind of half turn like this and have chicken arms while I'm typing. Really not cool. And so having the back space for parts, space to work, it's going to be really nice. It's not going to be fun to drive, and that's a real downer. And so I'm really crossing my fingers that I'm going to have enough money pretty soon to buy a second car. Buying the car is not really the problem, but paying for all of the things that you have to pay for. You have to pay for the parking and the insurance and the shaken, which is the every 2 years inspection, and then the road tax every year. You have to pay like $500. And so, yeah, it adds up to quite a bit of money. And so the car that I'm deciding to get, though, that I really want to get is like a late 80s, early 90s Nissan Sunny 1.2 liter 5-speed manual pickup truck in the long bed version. I think the short bed looks cooler, but the long bed is more useful, and I want to be able to haul parts with that and hopefully race it, because I think that would be really fun to just race, you know, a 1.2 liter carbureted engine, make lots of noise and not very much power. So it sounds like a lot of fun to me. So that's something that hopefully I get to do, and if I do, I'm going to share it on this channel. So we'll see. It's always exciting to think about what cars that you want to get. So next question.
Rome 1017 has 2 questions. Number 1, roughly how many cars do you export a month, and how many are sold at the auction in the day to other dealers?
Okay, the auctions are dealer only, and so 100% of the cars that sell at the auction are to other dealers. How many cars do we sell? It depends on the month. It fluctuates in between somewhere around 20 to 35 cars per month now, but it grows a lot. In the last year, like a year ago, it was about 20 per month average. Now we're up at about 28 or 30. So make sure I don't hit bicyclist here. 30 cars a month is about as much as I want to be selling until I've got more staff, and so we're at a crucial point right now where I find somebody to work for me and somebody that's going to be good. I've got a few people that I do want to hire here, but the problem is my office right now is tight as it is with just the 2 staff in it, and so I'm looking for a new land and new office at the moment.
Second question. Also, do you export just cars or also export parts as well?
Okay, I don't export parts, and the reason being is because if I export parts at a price that makes enough money for it to be sustainable, those parts become too expensive. And what the problem is buying one part at a time, ends up taking a lot of time and costing a lot for shipping. And so anyone who wants to buy that part doesn't want to pay like, you know, 2 or 3 times more than the part is worth just so that they can get somebody to buy it from Japan. And unfortunately, that's just the way that it is. We did parts for a while, and I took all of my parts that I brought in, and I kind of estimated how long that it took to sell each one, and we were making roughly $3.50 per hour. And that's before any of that goes towards rent and whatever other expenses that we've got. And so it's just not a good industry to be in. I'd rather concentrate on cars as well, because to be honest, selling cars is really fun, and selling car parts, although it's fun, it just isn't as fun. So I've got more customers than I can handle right now that want to buy cars, and so I don't want to be using my time to sell parts when there are people who can't buy cars from me because of the amount of time that I've got.
Says, "Hey Derek, I'm going to be taking Japanese for a language other than English credits in my university next year. Do you have any tips or tricks that will make learning it easier?"
That's a very good question, and unfortunately I'm not super qualified to answer that because I'm not very good at learning languages, and I haven't learned Japanese very well. Now, if you look at my regular channel, or my main channel, you'll see that I do read the Japanese on the auction sheets. I can read a little bit, I can speak fairly well, but considering I've been here now for 8 years in Japan, it's pretty terrible, to be honest. And so, yeah, I'm not very confident that I've done a good job in studying Japanese. But, you know, my excuse is that I work 14 hours a day, and by the time I'm done working, I'm pretty tired and don't want to do anything except for veg out and watch YouTube videos of cars and stuff. So that's my excuse, and I'm sticking with it. The how to learn Japanese, well, I've got a lot of friends who live here in Japan and have learned Japanese, and kind of my understanding of the best way to learn, if you're in university, the best way to learn is surround yourself around other people who can speak Japanese, and just make it your, you know, once a week thing to hang out with them and practice your Japanese. You're going to learn a lot. If you're excited about learning the language, you're going to learn it a lot faster. There are groups, like clubs in most universities that Japanese students will go to. In my high school, actually, myself and a friend of mine kind of started this homework club, and we somewhat volunteered for it, and then we got a chance to help the students, not only Japanese students, but students from all different cultures, to do their homework. Exchange students who are only there for 1 year, and so, you know, homework would be challenging for them. That's what I suggest. Find some people who can speak Japanese and speak Japanese with them. When it comes to the curriculum of the first year university, I did take that in university too. It's really not that difficult as long as you study and do your homework. But I will say that the Japanese that you learn in the class is going to be a little bit different from the Japanese that you speak here in Japan. And the reason for that is because in the class they'll teach the polite version first. And the polite version is not always the version that you're going to be using. And it's actually quite a bit more challenging to learn the polite first and then go back to the regular. I really wish that the schools would teach regular first and then teach polite, but I guess, you know, for people who are going to be using the language, they want to teach them the most respectful way to speak. And so there is that. If you don't understand what I'm talking about, then once you start taking the class a little bit and learning to speak Japanese, it'll really kind of sink in. Anyway.
Bevan Brady asks, when Golden Week comes around and the auctions stop for a while, do you at least manage a short vacation?
Okay, do I get a vacation when the auctions are off? The auctions are off twice a year, once around New Year's and once around Golden Week. I don't get a vacation during those times. Usually I've got enough work to last me throughout that time, and so I haven't had a vacation during those times, but I usually work less, and so probably around 4 or 5 hours per day. I've got this kind of problem that because I've worked so much in the last little while, I feel uncomfortable not working now. And so that's kind of a concern that I've got with myself right now, how I can, you know, relax and feel comfortable when I'm not working. And so make sure that doesn't happen to you, because it's not very nice.
Final question from Teleman56678. In a few years, all the JDM specials like RX-7, Supra, NSX, GTRs will be importable into the US. Is this a concern for Canadians looking for clean JDM cars?
Okay, so for the US, the cars have to be 25 years old to import, and for Canada, it's 15 years old. So the US has always been a really tiny market. And this is up until the Skylines became importable. And actually, the same thing that happened to Canada. It was the Skylines that really kicked off the popularity. So we're going to have to see what happens to the US market. 25 years is very different from 15 years. The condition of the average car that's 25 years old is probably less than half of the average 15-year-old car, because the amount of wear that you get from 15 to 25 years old is a lot more than you would get from 5 to 15 years old. And so we're going to have to really see about this one. Obviously, some of the really big cars, like the R33 Skyline, the JZA80 Mark IV Supra, the Impreza, the Lancer Evolution, these cars are going to see a price spike once they become legal to import. And if you're a Canadian and you want to buy these cars, I really recommend you buy them before they turn 25 years old. If you're in Canada and you're wanting to buy a 25-year-old car, I don't think that this really affects too many people, because most Canadians are looking for cars that are a little bit newer than that, so they can get a better condition car. Cars like the JZA80, they made it from 1993 until I think 2001. And so while the US can import the 93s and the 94s, if you want that car, buy it 95, 96, 97, or so on. And so I don't really think that this is something that you need to be concerned about, but just keep in mind that if the cars are 25 years old, they're suddenly going to become 20, 50, or 100% more expensive. Especially Skylines, they seem to be the ones that are the hot ticket item right now. So that's going to be the end of the cast here. So thank you everyone for watching. Please remember to put a comment into the comment section below so that I have some information to talk about for next week. We do this every Sunday. Before I go, I also just wanted to do a shout out to a musician that I really like. His name is MC Abdominal, and I'm going to put a link to that. You can click on the screen to find his channel. He is just a really nice guy, and he did something really nice and went out of his way for me recently, and so I thought I'd do something in return for him, because it's nice to help people that you think are nice people. So that's going to be the end of the video, so thanks a lot for watching, and have a nice night.